That's why we anyone. But R&D taking one.
This value adjustment board meeting is called to order on October 27th, 2025 at 9 a.m. We need to, first, before we get started, we need to approve the value adjustment original meeting minutes for October 13th, 2025. We need a motion.
That's so move.
Need a second. Second. The motion by Ms. Page, second by Mr. Allday to approve the original value adjustment board meeting minute for October 13th, 2025. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right. I gotta read what we're supposed to be. You probably already know about this and you read it in the book, but anyway, we take.
Before we go on though, about these minutes, are we approving October 13th minutes?
Last Monday, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, the copy that I have says that Enoch Williams and Joey Woodruff is on this board.
Yep. Oh, I was going on with 30. But I'll take it through. Yep.
Mine don't.
October 21 does.
October 13th, that's what we're approving, right?
I have October 21.
Some of these are
Yeah.
in our packet. This is in our packet.
No.
It'd be 25.
She just didn't change that at the top. She's got the correct contact information at the bottom. If you want to go back and say approved as amended, we'll make sure that it's fixed. Like I said,
25.
That's the.
for October
No,
13th, 2025.
Okay.
The information, if you look down at the bottom, we have Ms. Page and Mr. Allday on there. We just need to put it up at the top.
Okay. We amend the value adjustment board original meeting minutes from October 13th to October 25, 2025. Need a motion? It was 19th though, wasn't it?
No, it's not the date.
Is it the-
October 13th is fine. It's the two people in the
Yeah.
top 5 names. The two people are listed as Enoch and Joey instead of Diane Page.
No.
Oh, I got you now. I got you.
He doesn't
You
have.
got the wrong name.
They don't have
Yes,
it.
ma'am. They're in the packet that I gave you that had a clip on it.
He's still off guy. Just open.
I got the wrong name. Need to be amended to Joseph Allday and Diane Pate.
This little packet right here, that's what we're
Yes,
talking about.
I got it.
It's.
You didn't read it either?
Mine was in there. That's how I
It's
found
in
it.
there.
That's how I thought it.
This,
Do not have it.
Oh.
And I was looking at. Gotcha, thank you.
we're talking about these two
Right,
names
exactly.
right there.
Okay.
Everybody see it? Everybody.
I make a motion to accept it as adopted or changed.
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Ms. Pate, second by Mr. Allday to change the appointees from to Diane Pate and Joseph Allday. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Okay, I read this. It states pre-hearing requirement for the value adjustment legal counsel. This board is an independent, imperial, and unbiased hearing body or officer as applicant. The board does not work for the property appraiser or tax collector is independent of the property appraiser or tax collector. The hearing will be conducted in an orderly, fair, and unbiased manner. The law does not allow the board to review any evidence unless it is presented on the record as hearing or presented upon agreed of the parties while the record is open. And the law requires the board to review and credibility of the evidence in deciding the results of the petition. Petition 2 through 5 and 7 through 17 have been withdrawn. The board will hear petition 1 and 6. So, yeah, good. And then, Mr. Rooks.
Okay, Mr. Beck, if you'll come up. And just. You would please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, for help you God.
Thank you. So good morning, board. I appreciate y'all being here on this rainy morning, which we really needed the rain, which is good. We only have the 2 petitions, and I've oversaw the information that you're getting. Ms. Jessica Chaddock is my chief appraiser. And so she is going to be presenting the evidence and the packets to y'all. I hope that y'all will listen and learn. Okay, thank y'all.
As a housekeeping matter, if I may, I just want to make sure no one is related to any of the witnesses. You know, by
Definitely.
cousins or marriage or anything. All right, and are the petitioners Stephen and Margaret Couturier here?
Stephen is.
Okay, so do you want to swear him in now or wait till he?
I was gonna wait till he got up.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good morning, board. Okay, you all should have petition number 1 for Stephen and Margaret Couture. On page 2 and 3, this is a copy of the petition for the Value Adjustment Board that the petitioner filed. And then on page 4, this is a copy of the letter that we sent to the petitioner, both via email and certified mail.
Are you looking at the information though?
On the packet that I provided, no, sir, on this.
Okay, so we can look at this.
So we can look
That's
at
the one,
This
that's the one we can look at now.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, you can flip those over. This is the packet.
Excuse me, that's for Marvin Kern.
No, sir, for Stephen
Okay.
and Margaret
Okay, I
Couture.
just looked on top, so I want to make sure.
Yes,
Look at the
it's
right
this
one.
one right here.
Okay, Stephen and Margaret.
Okay,
Cool. Okay,
this is the packet. So like I said, on page 2 and 3, that is simply just a copy of the VAB petition that the petitioner filed. And on page 4 is a copy of a letter from our office that we sent the petitioner via email and through certified mail, that it serves as a written request from our office for their list of evidence and documentation that they would like to present at the Jackson County Value Adjustment Board hearing. According to the VAB procedures and rules, the evidence exchange has to be done by Monday, October 13th, 2025, which means we give the petitioner our evidence to support our value, and in turn, any documentation or evidence that they have that to support their value or a change in our value must be presented to us by this date. The petitioner did not provide us any evidence to support a change in the valuation by the deadline of October 13th. We did not receive any. In fact, we still haven't received any. We've also not had any correspondence other than emails with the petitioner. I did offer through email to meet with the petitioner to address any concerns in person or in phone, and the petitioner did not respond to our office to address any concerns or to meet with us. Pages 5 and 6 are just a copy of our property record cards. This just details sketches and a list of extra features and our values. Page 7 gives you an overview and aerial view photography of the petitioner's property. You can see it's a pretty large tract of acreage. It's approximately 119.68 acres. And as you can tell from the aerial, it has numerous buildings and extra features. So if I could turn your attention to page 8, I just wanted to go through a list of extra features and properties that we have. So again, the subject property consists of 119.68 acres. There's not one, but 2 single-family residences on this parcel. There is a residential home that consists of 2,542 square feet that was built in 2001. And there is a fairly recently constructed house consisting of 3,026 square feet that was built in 2023. The other improvements to the property include a 3,612 square foot pole barn, a 600 square foot storage / detached apartment, 1 commercial well, a 288 square foot enclosed pole shed, a generator, 806 square foot workshop, 4 septic systems, 120 square foot metal building, a 4,125 square foot workshop, a 234 square foot building, a 216 square foot lean-to, a 540 square foot unfinished storage building, a 1,152 square foot pole barn, a 2,280 square foot pole barn, 300 linear feet of chain link fencing, and a residential elevator in the main home, and 64 linear feet of retaining wall. I will say that this is not the homestead property of the petitioners. They have an additional home in Jackson County on Hunterfish Camp Road that as of 2025 was their homestead property. So the property that we're talking about today is residential non-homestead property. And according to Florida statute 193.1554, it states that non-homestead residential property shall be assessed at just value as of January 1st. That is per Florida statute. Now, I will say that when we were given a permit by the Jackson County Building Department for this new resident that was built in 2023, that prompted our office to go out and do a field check, just like it does for any other property that a new house is being constructed on. When we went out there to field check this property in 2024, we realized that the previous field check had been done in 2011. So there was a 13-year time period between when it was assessed in 2011 and when we reassessed it in 2024. Now, per Florida statutes, it states that we should physically inspect the property once every 5 years. And for the most part, we try really hard to get that done. However, Rebecca took office in January of 2017. This property was already outside of that 5-year field check window by the time that she was sworn in as property appraiser. Shortly after that, Hurricane Michael hit. So all of our field staff and our office staff was directed to try to take care of the county in terms of assessing hurricane damage. And then shortly after that, then we had COVID. So at the time that she took office, our field department was understaffed. We had only two field appraisers that had to go out and were supposed to inspect the county, which has over 40,000 parcels. That's a big job. If you've got to physically inspect every parcel once every 5 years, and you've only got 2 people to do it, that's a lot. Fortunately now we are fully staffed. We have 4 field appraiser positions. And so the county as a whole, we've been going through and flagging properties that have not been inspected in 5 years in an effort to get everything caught up. So the area where this property lies in the south part of the region, several of the surrounding properties have been checked at the same time as Mr. Couture's, and there are others that are still being inspected. So I just wanted to explain why there was a difference in value so much, because we were there in 2011. And in 2011, the only improvements that we had assessed on this property was the 2001 built house that consists of 2,542 square feet and 3 extra features. That's all that had been assessed. During the time between 2011 and 2024, in that 13-year period, the petitioners constructed 14 additional extra features and had constructed a new house. Those 14 additional extra features had not been assessed, and they were not being taxed for those 14 years. So When we go out in 2024, because we get a permit for a new house, we have to pick up all the extra features there. And then I again refer to you that we are required by Florida statute 193.1554 that states that non-homestead residential property shall be assessed at just value as of January 1st. And that's all that we did. The following pages in your packet, starting with page 9 and going through to, I believe it is page 14, will show you images of the field check that our appraisers did, our field staff did when they went out. They're labeled so you can see both residences, the apartments, and all of the outbuildings. Give you guys a second to go through those. So how do we value residential property? There are 3 approaches to value: the sales comparison approach, the cost approach, and the income approach. The income is not applicable. Nothing's for rent. We're not leasing. We don't have a lease agreement. These are not tenants. So the income approach is not applicable. The cost approach is typically reserved for brand new construction and primarily more commercial buildings than just residential. So we rely on the sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach uses the market to estimate value by comparing the subject to similar properties that have sold. And you're going to hear me say that, similar properties that have recently sold. That is the premise of the sales comparison approach. So if you will look on page 17 in your packet, that is a breakdown of our sales comparison approach. And the pages corresponding after that will show you images of each comparable sale that we used. So when you look at the sales, comparable 1 sold in September of 2024 for $750,000. Comparable 2 sold October 18th, 2024 for $750,000. Comparable 3, which is most similar to the subject in terms of the square foot of heated gross building area, gross livable area of the houses and the acreage, sold for $1,298,000. Comparable 4 sold August 1st, 2025 for $590,000. And comparable 4, and comparable 5 sold August 25th, 2025 for $500,000. Based off of the square footage of these houses and the sales price, they indicate an average sales price per square foot of $194.60, with a median value of $192 per square foot of gross living area. If you use that by the square footage of the homes on Mr. Couture's property at estimating $194 a square foot, it indicates the value to be $1,080,000. Our office currently has Mr. Couture's property with 2 homes and 14 extra features and 119.68 acres, valued at $712,737. I would respectfully request the board to consider our value as correct. Do you have any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
So the value y'all are putting on the property is $1 million.
No, sir. The value that we have it assessed at is $712,737. I was just indicating that if we were to value it by the sales comparison approach, which we should be, doing, it estimates a value of $1,080,000. His assessment is at least $250,000 below what the market states that it should be.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So if the law says that you are to value property by the sales, by the income, or by
The
square
cost.
footage,
Mhm.
that's what the law says.
Mhm.
And we as a county, has done it by one of those comparisons, and we have come to a value of, or you all came to a value of 1 million.
Yes, $1,080,000.
Okay, but we as a we as a county put a value of $750,000.
$712,737. Yes, sir.
So are we following the law?
We are, however, like, we do not try to do anything to, should I say, hurt or unfairly value our constituents. We made every effort. He does get agricultural classification on the land, so that is part of the difference there, between that, what we're assessing it at and what fair market value shows. We could, in fact, if we wanted to reassess it, yes, sir, reassess it closer to what it says. Because per Florida statute, we can assess properties up to 100% of the fair market value.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
So the jump is from 220 something thousand to 737.
Yes, sir. And that is because, like I stated, it's not their homestead property, so they are not protected by that 3% cap in value. There's no protection for that. Also, just to remind the board, there was 14 years that the petitioners were not getting taxed on this stuff. 14 years of improvements being built on that property that were not being taxed and assessed. So when we went out to re-inspect it, by law, we had to pick up all of the features, extra features, and all of the improvements that the petitioners had built on their property during the course of that time between one field check and the next. And I understand the jump in value. I understand the concern. But we're doing what we're mandated to do by law.
Just one more question.
Okay, yeah, go.
So in the comparison, do these other properties have the accessory structures? And of course, the land,
Yes, sir. The land is assessed, the accessory structures are done. I will say we did not have any comparable sales with the significant land that this property has. All of these have less. The one that is closest in terms of having extra features similar to Mr. Couture's, and the largest acreage is that comparable, number 3 on Smoky Road. It's on 25 acres versus Mr. Couture's almost 120 acres, and it sold for right at 1.3 million.
As a legal matter, you're using comparables from 2025?
Well, I have kicked comparables from 2024, and I put additional ones in there from 2025 just to continue to support our value and show that the market has not changed.
I'm not sure that they're permissible or relevant because the date you have to assess that is January 1st.
Yes, sir. But yes, ma'am. I do have 2 in there that show that a value,
Those are fine.
yes, ma'am, that still support a value greater than what we have it assessed at. Those 2 sales sold for $750,000 on 6 acres and 16 acres with not near the number of extra features.
January 1st of,
2025.
so then,
So like I have sales from 2024 because when we look at sales of the county, we're a pretty rural county. So the number of sales that we have on significant acreage with this kind of square footage of heated and cool space, there's not a lot of them. So I'm having to use sales from 2024. Those first 2 at $750,000 each are sales from 2024 that still, even though they are smaller in size and smaller in acreage, sold for more than what the assessed value of the petitioner's property is assessed at. I did include sales from 2025 just to show that the market has not decreased, that it's still supporting our value, and to show what other properties are still selling for that are as close to what I can get the petitioner's property as possible, just because it's unique. We don't really have a lot of sales of a property with 2 houses on it that are almost 120 acres.
I guess, I just wanted to make sure I understand when you're saying by January 1st, but it would be January 1st of 2025.
Yes, sir. That's why I included
So we
the,
would not, you saying you,
The 3, there's 5 comparables. The first 2 are fine because they're in 2024. The next 3 are May, July, and August of 2025 and really aren't permissible. they really,
Yeah,
you
well,
need to ignore them.
which is
because-
fine. That's fine. Like I said, I just included them for extra benefit. If you base it off of the first two sales alone, they still sold for more than what we have Mr. Couture's property assessed for.
It would be $199 a square foot, I think, if you just average those two.
Right, and I am assessing it at $128 a square foot. So the sales, the first two sales in 2024 show $199 a square foot, average selling price. And I am assessing it at $128 a square foot.
Do you have any more questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one quick question.
Okay,
Any of this, all of this is considered residential,
Yes, sir.
not commercial?
Right.
there's not any other agriculture?
Some of his land is assessed at ag, so he does get a lower tax assessment based off of the agricultural use of the land. He already gets that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Hear from. Clint.
If you would, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Praise God. Thank you.
They did a good job, representing themselves. But, my main complaint is it's a 340% increase from 1 year to now, from when 2011. And that's not my fault that nobody's been down there. And that's the only structure. I've already been reported twice. And I didn't ask who reported me. And they've come down and assess that land. So I don't know who it is, but that's immaterial to me. And I know you got to pay property tax. I'm not trying to get out of that. Mine wouldn't even hit probably $70 a square foot because I never paid over $90 a yard for concrete. And y'all know what a pole barn costs. You can build them all day long for $6,000, and everything that's under them is farm equipment. I don't like my equipment parked in the weather. And one of them's built out of trusses that were built in 1952 that come from the University of Florida pig farm. So that's how tight I am. And the cabin, the other residence they're talking about, that was A.B. Williams' cabin. It was a 24 by 40 built in 1952 out of block and screen. And I just closed it in, put a bedroom on one end and a dining room on the other with a commercial kitchen. And that's where we have socials and stuff like that. But we did stay there. Then when I remodeled my house on 100 Fish Camp, we just stayed down there because it's under getting fixed from all the storms. But the main thing is just I don't see how you can go from 193,918 to $679. You see what I'm saying, at one time. And if she's that understaffed, I think the commissioners need to give her some help and give her some employees. Because if they found me, there ain't no telling how many millions of dollars y'all are missing in revenue. It's pitiful. I hate to tell you. That's a shame to have to go up on somebody at 340%. And I could do all the comparables, but there's not a comparable. I drive down 4.5 miles of one of the worst roads in Jackson County. And when they haul dirt out of that pit, You just about can't get up and down that road. I live across the street from a 400-acre spray field that belongs to the city with a generator running and the sprinkler system running. I don't complain about it, but it's not worth what they think it's worth when you do all, it's not, their comparables aren't going down 4.5 miles of dirt road. They're on a paved highway. There's a lot of difference. So I just think all in all, we got some bad problems in the county. And I'm not gonna give a list, and I wouldn't give a list of, first of all, I don't play on a computer. I got better things to do. But if you went and did comparables, you'd have more enemies in this county and you knew what to do with. And I'm not gonna do that. So I think we got issues we need to get straightened out. And there needs to be a cap on how much they can go up. You get somebody that couldn't afford that, that's quite a hike. I never had a house payment that was over $343.
I have a question. Have you ever had your place appraised?
It ain't never been but a dime borrowed on it, sir. It took me 11 years to build that house that I'm living in. Everything in it was either used or I bought from a contractor that was 10 cents on the dollar. All the appliances in it, I bought off the market. The trusses on every one of those, the big barn and the house and everything, I got from Gary. They were sitting in his yard. He couldn't sell them. The most I ever paid for a set of trusses was $800. It's amazing what I have in that place, really. I probably ain't got $250,000, $300,000 in the whole place. But I've done it over a 25, 30-year period.
I read it. For you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Can we ask Jessica a couple?
Sure.
It does, I guess law statute allow you to tier it up so it isn't such a one-time increase?
If we had been able to go out once every 5 years, probably it would have been stuff, we would have been picking up the extra features as they were constructed. If this were his homestead property, there is a cap, but this is not his homestead property. His homestead property is Hunter Fish Camp Road. So therefore, there is no cap when we put things on as new to the role, they're new to this property because we had been out there, we had never had them assessed before. So there is no protection, and that's just Florida law. It's important, unfortunate, I understand that. When our field appraisers went out to do the field check, they spoke with his wife, I think with Margaret, and encouraged her to move the homestead from Hunter Fish Camp Road to this property because they could change that and it would help lower their tax assessment here. Miss Margaret refused at that time and said they were going to leave the homestead on the Hunter Fish Camp Road property until it's sold. So we did make every effort to try to do what we could to help them keep that assessment. As you see from the sale, we could have gone to over $1 million. We did not. We went to a little over 700,000. And we still would encourage them to come 2026, please file homestead on this property. In terms of the other information he provided, like I said, I reached out via email and explained like our side of things and what had happened. And I requested or asked if they would be willing to call me. I would be willing to meet with them in person. We could discuss this. I got absolutely no response.
Reason she didn't get any response, I wasn't gonna represent myself. John Young was, but his daddy died, and I told him, don't worry about it. So I had to go get all this stuff back from John Young I just got it back last week. So, and I don't communicate on a computer. I'm all right talking, but I just don't fool with them. They get me in more trouble than it's worth.
Any other questions that we can answer or?
Any other questions?
In her doing her thing for comparables, if you look at the comparables, what they sold for and what they're assessed for is a lot of difference.
I can speak to that. A lot of these are as they're sold, if they are homestead property, or it was say the previous owner, or the person that bought it, if they owned other homestead property in Florida, they can port or change that cap value that they have accrued all those years from one homestead property to another in Florida. That is against her law. Now, so you really can't compare one person's assessed value to another's, because I could be a first-time home buyer and buy a home. I've never lived in Florida before. And my assessed value will be very similar to my sales price and the just market value. However, if I'm already a homeowner and I've lived there for 20 years and had homestead, and I've accrued, for example, $100,000 in Save Our Homes cap, and then I sell my house and I buy another house, I can take that $100,000 in savings and I can transfer that to help offset my tax liability on this new home. So it's very hard to compare assessed value to assessed value if you don't have the same situation. Now, in Mr. Couture's case, now that we have everything assessed on his property going forward, because it is it's residential, non-homestead property, that from this point forward, now that we have everything assessed, there is a 10% cap. So next year, regardless of what the market does, his assessed value cannot increase more than 10% per year from this point forward. The issue with the difference in the valuation is simply because there was a new house and 14 extra features that had not been previously assessed.
They should have been on the tax roll though, because they sent somebody down there. And the cook shed was there, the big pole barn was there, and the barn beside it, and the little one. That should have been on the tax roll. If it wasn't on the tax roll, I didn't pay him any money under the table, I can assure you. So the only thing that was added is the new house and 2 more pole barns.
And maybe our records just indicate the last bill check before the one in 24 was 2011. And at that time, there was the one house there and 3 extra features. That's all that was assessed in 2011. Our records do not indicate anybody being out there between 2011 until we went out there and we got the permit for the new home.
Which it took about 11, 12 years to build that. Matter of fact, the permit ran out. We had to buy another permit.
And to be fair, and just to be transparent, according to Florida statute, we can assess a home if it is substantially complete, even without a certificate of occupancy. So we could have picked up that house and assessed it probably well before we did in 2024.
Okay, any more questions?
Okay, for the board, if you've heard the evidence, did you have anything further?
Okay.
Questions further?
I have a question for you.
Okay,
What legally can we do?
okay. So I'm gonna direct you to, one of my handouts that's in the packet that in the front of your folder. The front pocket
Of your notebook.
of your notebook. It's the standard of proof, presumption and correctness, and the burden of proof. So the standard of proof is the preponderance of the evidence, which means the greater weight of the evidence, or more than likely not, so that's the standard of proof. presumption of correctness, the property appraiser is entitled to a presumption of correctness once they establish two things. First, that they did the appraisal in a professionally a professional manner that's consistent with appraisal standards and in a methodology that complies with statute 193-011, which is the next page, which contains the 8 factors that we have to review.
Yes, ma'am, but that's in our packet.
It is in the packet. There was no direct testimony on it, but it is clearly in the packet.
On page 15.
Well, okay, so it's summarized in a written response on page 15. Right, so those are the 8 factors that you'll be looking at to see if, the property appraiser has done their job and therefore is entitled to the presumption of correctness. Once they get that presumption of correctness, the burden shifts to the taxpayer to show that, his evidence overcomes what the property appraiser has assessed the value at. Does that help? That's the stage you're at right now. You need to assess, review the testimony, review page 15 as to each of the 8 factors. Make sure that, the property appraiser did its job, and then you'll make a determination if they're entitled to the presumption of correctness. I mean, you can see one of you can review it and speak it out loud, or you can just, read it, whichever is your preference.
So do we need to, cause I would like to, I had looked at this, in the presumption of correctness, I feel like the property appraiser has proven that.
I do have a question on the, location of said property. I know where the property is located, and the dirt road is, probably discouraging to go down every day. Was there any comparisons along the dirt road? Cause
Well, the last comparable sale, it has a Lawrence Road address, but is actually accessed by a little, rough little 2-trail kind of dirt driveway that goes down to other properties. Like I said, Mr. Couture's property is very unique in its how large it is, and a lot of the comparable sales, like I said, were limited, so some of those are on paved roads. But given again that the average sales price between just the 2 comparables that sold in 2024 were $199 a square foot, and his assessment at $128 a square foot, I think gives sufficient room for an adjustment for location due to a dirt road versus a paved road. That's over a $70 per square foot lower assessment than what the sales are indicating, so.
When you're ready, you can make a motion first to say that the property appraiser's office has met their burden to establish the presumption of correctness.
I'll motion that the property appraisers is proven a presumption of correctness.
A second.
Got a motion by Mr. Granberry to, motion to, in favor of the property appraiser, second by Ms. Pate. Go, you got a question?
I know the property appraiser's done their due diligence, but I still have a problem. It was appraised in 2011 and not until again in 2014.
No, sir, it was appraised in 2011, sorry. And it was, appraised again in 2024 when we got the permit for the new house. Now, like I said, a Florida statute requires us, or we're supposed to physically inspect each property in the county within a 5-year period. Okay, there's 40,000 parcels in the county. When Miss Rebecca took office in January of 2017, this property was already outside of that 5-year inspection window. And that was no fault of hers or our office. That was the previous administration. So when she took office, she had 2 field appraisers. So those field appraisers have to go out anytime there's a sale, anytime we get a permit for new construction, anytime we have a property owner that requests that we come out and re-inspect it. So these 2 are responsible doing all of that, in addition to trying to catch up on numerous thousands of properties that prior administrations had let go outside of this 5-year window. So she takes office in 2017. So she's working on all of that, the 2 field guys she has. That's all she had employee-wise was 2 field staff. Then Hurricane Michael hit in 2018. So all of the field staff and even some of the other office staff that we had was taken away from doing those 5-year field checks and all of that stuff and had to shift the entire focus to reassessing properties because of hurricane damage. You guys saw what was damaged, right? So then shortly after that kind of gets wrapped up, then COVID hits. So then you're limited in what you can do because you're not supposed to be interacting with people and you're supposed to social distance and you have to wear a mask and you have to do all of that. And then we come forward. So we've been catching back up on that. Now, that being outside the 5-year, I mean, it is a responsibility of the property appraiser's office. However, that worked to Mr. Couture's benefit in terms of his tax bill. He was not assessed or taxed on 14 extra features, or actually, yeah, 14 more, because he only had 3 assessed in 2011, and we had to go out and pick all of those up in 2014. So he got, I hate to say, a tax break for 14 years. And I understand it's a drastic difference, but again, we're just trying to catch up and do our job as we're mandated by Florida statute to do. It's not to be unfair. It's not to penalize anybody. There are thousands of other parcels that we are working day in and day out. We now have 4 field appraisers, so double the amount that we had when she took office, to try to help accomplish this. And we're overseen by Department of Revenue, who says, yes, every year we need, these are the properties that have not been checked in 5 years. Y'all have to be working on those. We have all of those flagged. Those are outstanding in our field appraisers. We have a computer system, their queue. They map their inspections daily and they go out, and we do that to everyone. If it were another property appraiser that we had not been out there outside of that 5-year window and they had built numerous improvements, by law, we are required to assess those and pick those up. And that's all we were doing here.
I don't have a problem with the reason y'all didn't do it. Not at all. I totally understand that because all of us live through that. I just have a little problem with this much at one time.
Yes, sir. And like I said, if it were homestead, it would cap it. But I mean, if we go out and we field check that property and we see all of this stuff and we go, we don't want to pick all this up because it's going to hurt a taxpayer. We are in essence breaking the law. We're not following Florida statute as law. Like I can't, it would be very difficult for us to say, okay, well, I understand you're upset, but this is, so you're asking us to break the law. Like, I can't do that.
Well, I totally understand that.
Yes, sir.
I just still have a problem with it.
I understand.
Like,
It is
It's like
unfortunate.
in your household and all of a sudden your air conditioners and dryers and washing machines all tear up the same week.
Yes, sir. I understand.
It's just a jump on.
So,
And it's no fault of y'all,
Right.
because if it hadn't been for hurricane and COVID, yes, I'd say we needed to improve there, but I totally understand. I know how everything went crazy then. We're still today.
so on the field, the property record card in your packets, if you really look at those, you will see where we gave a consideration of the condition of these buildings as well. So they're not at 100% except for the one that, was put on, that was built in 2025.
What page is that?
That's page 5 and 6. But we do take in consideration of what the condition of them are. Now, we just have to, sometimes we have to, guess at what year they were built. And we look back in our aerials and see by it what year things were built and assess it according to those. Unless the property owner is there and can tell us this was built in 1999, or this was built in 1985 or 1960 or whatever. But we do take in consideration that there is a condition to that. And so therefore we do assess it a little differently when it is older.
So you'll see like on page 5, when you look down about right below the sketch and under where it says certified value, you see all of the extra features. So you will see that pole barn, that bone, like it says adjusted price $5 a square foot, and then it says condition 85%. So when we went out, we could have assessed him as these being 100% good, but we did not. We did that in an effort to help the taxpayer because we realized that we were having to pick up a lot of extra features that
Were older.
that were, you know, that had not been picked up since our last field check. In addition, we also, the apartment that they have that's above the dog kennels, they said right now they're not using it as an apartment. They're using it just as storage. So in an effort to help them, again, we assess that as finished storage instead of assessing that as an apartment. So we have made a lot of effort to help offset this change in the taxable value and in the assessed value that Mr. Couture is seeing.
So with that being said, your comparison is based on the sales of the residential structures, right? The comparable sales,
Well, the comparable sales are that those sales take into account the houses, any extra features, the land. Like I could break down and do a qualitative analysis of each of those, but in all due respect, that would not help the petitioner's cause
Right.
here.
I have a question. I know regardless how people can buy stuff real cheap here and there, I know, and do the market. And, when y'all go out and appraise it, do y'all take in comparison of what he paid for it? Or, you know, building or what on the days?
Well, like I said, and I did respond via email because in the petition, it said they preferred correspondence either through mail or email. They had checked email. That's why I sent my correspondence through email. In the email that I sent after we received his petition, in the email I stated, please call me. Come by and see me. I will be happy to have an informal interview with you. We will be happy to discuss with you any of these. We were not ever contacted. And I hate to say, like, just because you get a deal on something that's a deal doesn't mean that's what the market says that it's worth. We all know that. If we're having to value it by sales, the sales justify a higher price than we have it assessed. I mean, we do take it into consideration if we're told, if there's receipts, if they have an appraisal, if they have a bill of sale, but it's very hard from us for somebody to say, because what's to say we don't have 1,000 other taxpayers? Well, I know it's worth this and I wouldn't sell it for what you have it assessed at. There's no way I'd get rid of my property for that amount. I'd sell it for way more. But if they tell us, oh, well, I got a deal on this, well, without a receipt or documentation, we can't just go by that. You know, we would have everybody trying to tell us that they had their house built at, you know, $50 a square foot.
One other question I got, I know when y'all go out and like if you did it on a 5-year regular thing you've been doing, but then if he did the 5 years ago and it's just exactly, I know you didn't, but if he did and y'all had him at a value with the day market, everything increasing, does that increase too?
On non-homestead residential property, it would have been capped at 10%. Now, if the petitioner would have And I know nobody wants to do this, I'm just saying hypothetically, if he'd have been looking at his trim notice that we send out every year and go, I got all these extra features and they ain't got them picked up. When they get these picked up, my tax bill is gonna change. I might need to let them know that I'm doing some work out here so that this can be gradually done and not a drastic increase. Petitioner got a tax break for 14 years.
Okay, anybody else got any questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What legally could be done? What
Mr. Cotier and you, if you're interested, can, try to get legislation in that taps.
No, I'm talking about the.
Today.
With this.
Your job today is to determine if the property appraisers met their burden and if he's overcome that burden. That's all you can do today. You have to apply the law as it stands.
So what happens if we say he is overcome? If we voted that Mr. Couture has done all he could do, what's the outcome of that?
Well, then, you would, if the board as a whole determined that the property appraiser met its burden and has a presumption of correctness, and then you felt his testimony was enough to overcome that, then you at that point grant his petition and then determine whether or not you have enough to value, to determine a new value.
So it would be reappraised, basically.
I'm sorry?
It would be reappraised, basically.
Correct. It's either you determine if you have enough that you can assess it, set a value that you think is good, or you send it back.
Here's
One
what
or
you
the
do.
other.
You review the evidence presented by the party, determine where the evidence present is submitted, admit the evidence that is admitted, identify the evidence presented and if that is amended or not amended, consider the amended evidence.
I think the property appraiser's office has done what they could do, supposed to do. But I still have a little heartburn. It's
Okay.
going up so much.
I think
There's an open motion right now.
we all have it.
We got a motion on the table by Mr. Granberry, second by Ms. Pate. In favor of the property appraiser, all in favor? Right.
No, your motion
The
right
burden
now
has
is
been
that they've met their
burden.
burden for a presumption of correctness. That's the first step.
And that's all.
Right now, that's all the motion is.
Okay, well, we made the motion on the grade assessment of the evidence that was presented.
Okay, so you're just addressing the motion that was made, and what you're addressing is whether or not the property appraiser has met its burden in order to allow it the presumption of correctness. So
Okay,
you can determine, you're breaking it up, and that's fine. You can approve that or not approve it. If you don't approve it, then, then you grant the petition because they didn't meet their burden. But if you say that they met their burden, then you go to the second step, is whatever evidence was presented by the petitioner, is that sufficient to overcome that presumption of correctness?
well, the board has reviewed the 8 finding factors of just a value and presumption of correctness.
It's in the packet.
That's the page 15 that you reviewed.
Yeah,
We're ready to vote.
all in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion carries.
So that's the presumption of correctness. Now you can entertain a motion to either,
Deny the.
deny the petition or grant the petition, saying that his evidence was sufficient to overcome.
Offer motion that we deny this petition.
Is it discussion?
You have to have a second.
Okay.
Need a second.
I'll second.
You got a motion by Mr. Granberry, second by Ms. Pate to, deny the petition. All in favor?
Discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Discussion. So, from what I saw with the evidence Mr. Couturi presented, it's not contradicting what the property appraisers is saying. It's just the burden of the increase.
Correct. His concern is more to the burden of the increase than it is to challenge their methodology or the fact that he has these improvements. He did give testimony regarding the fact that, you know, he was able to do the improvements at a reduced value. You know, but that's not necessarily the market value.
So is there anything to deny?
If you deny his petition, it's because his evidence was not sufficient to overcome the presumption of correctness.
And there's nothing we can do to
So this,
alleviate or do it in compartments. Pay some here and pay some, increase every year. It's total.
It's, you know,
Yeah.
one time
Yeah,
I can't say.
yeah, that's a law. I mean, it's not, we don't have a choice.
and the thing about it is it's unfortunate that this is a particular situation that is very unfortunate. I'll be the first one to say it would knock me completely out of kilter.
Me too.
I would definitely have to go, and I don't know what I would do, but, it speaks to the fact that, you know, this particular, I mean, our county, just like others, we've experienced some situations that has caused us to allow things has happened. I mean, the 14-year period from 2011 to 2024 before, I mean, we've experienced Jackson County. We went through the hurricane. The hurricane affected everybody, and a lot of us experienced, and it's just unfortunate, but based on what the law says and what our duty as far as this value adjustment board is, we can't, I don't see anywhere in here where we can say, his increase can be tiered. I mean, that's not something that we can do. What we had was to do is did the property appraiser do what they were supposed to do and provide us with, the presumption? What they did, was it correct? Would they have done this exact same thing for the next person, for the next person, for the next person? And then as far as the increase is very unfortunate. I don't see anywhere where we could alleviate that part. Because if we did, then just like we would have 50 petitions next time, because now if we did that, then the next I mean, I would petition without that. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Need a vote. I'll raise your right hand, all in favor. Motion carries in favor of the property appraisal.
Petition is denied.
Is that it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Which we could do something. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Did you have any change?
I haven't seen Mr. Hearns. I don't know if,
Did he ask that his evidence
Wish we
be,
could do something.
entertained without his presence?
Exactly right.
my knowledge, I haven't seen anything. He had two petitions.
Yeah.
He withdrew one. He left this one on. Property appraiser's office have been conversing with him, so they may have some more information.
Oh, It's like, oh.
Okay, wait a minute, excuse me,
Miss-
Rebecca.
Mr.
I'm
Beck,
sorry. Oh, sorry.
petition number 6,
Yes.
the last I heard, he had 2 petitions, one of them he withdrew.
Thank you.
And the other one is the one we have here.
That is correct.
Before us, I haven't heard him say anything about.
The last email we had was that he would be here and we told him any other questions, we could answer him at VAB because it seemed to be just an argument with him. over
I offer
email.
motion, we deny this petition.
Okay.
Hold up.
We got,
Here's what you have to do, when they fail to appear, you do address it, and you do not need to go through all the testimony, you can just deny it because he did not appear to present testimony, and we give them that decision so that he can appeal it if he wants.
I make a motion that we
What?
did not.
Yeah, I think,
You can do it, that, you go with this.
Thank you. Make a motion that we deny Mr. Hearn's petition because he did not appear at the time provided, and we cannot proceed any further.
And his appointment time was 9:15. I had all of them scheduled for 9:15 in the morning, so he's had, I think, ample time.
It's 10:05 right now.
yeah,
I second that motion.
All right, got a motion by Ms. Pate to deny their petition because of not showing up on time and not here now. Second by Mr. Granberry. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.
That was an easier one than last.
That's either one.
Oh, you
Just
got
involve us
that.
with his.
So, do we need to do anything else, Ms. Martha, before we leave? Do they need to have a motion to have the chairman sign all the applicable forms?
right, I think that's on your agenda, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do that.
Offer motion that we'll, appoint the permission for the chairman to sign all necessary documents concerning the value adjustment board meeting on October 26th.
Oh, it's like that.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Granberry, second by Mr. Allday to approve all documents be signed by the chairman. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Oh, let's see. This is chairman, motion to adjourn, need a motion to adjourn.
And the y'all's over there.
Motion by, you,
Grant.
you made a motion?
I mean, if I.
Donnie.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Branch made a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Allday, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.
We don't wanna dominate it on this.
No.
side.
There you go. Wait a minute.